Hello and welcome back to the Confidentially Insecure podcast. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for watching, or maybe listening. Might be the best word to use. Episode 1, I had some really great feedback from it, and it feels so good to have started. As always, I mean, feedback is going to be really important for me to get out more content of what you want to see and to let me know what I'm doing well, and also really importantly is to let me know what I could be improving on. I've come down with a bit of a cold in the most recent days, so if I sound a little bit weird again, that's why. One day I'll do this and I'll not be hungover or ill, and that'll be a day when, if I'm at university and I'm not hungover or ill, something has gone incredibly well that week. So feedback I did have was some people mentioned I should put a trigger warning into the episodes. So today we're going to talk about body image and self-esteem and stuff like that. So if that's something that you don't want to listen to, that's by all means you can tap out, and hopefully I'll see you again a little bit later down the line. So that was a little trigger warning just thrown in there. The more common feedback was that you guys wanted each episode to be a little bit longer in length, which I was really surprised about, to be honest. So much so that I did a poll on my Instagram. So if you're not following the Instagram, I don't think all of you are following the Instagram based off how many views we're getting on this and how many followers you are on the Instagram. So there's some great content going out on the Instagram about what's going on in my life, how I'm feeling about things. So look over on there, Confidentially Insecure, straight into Instagram, all lowercase. Can't miss it, and a lovely follow would always be appreciated. So I'm going to have a little drink now, just to keep the throat not too parched. I might edit that out, or I might keep it in for a bit of authenticity. I'm not sure yet. So if you did hear that, then I've decided to keep it in, and if you don't, then I took it out. So yeah, another section of the podcast I'm gonna add in when I have information is just about the runnings of it. If it's guest related, I'm probably not gonna put it in because I want them to be a surprise for you. But in the interest of authenticity and transparency, I've been speaking to someone I sort of know who launched or helped launch Cameron Parker, who is a motivational speaker going around the country. I think mainly in schools, but I think he does some universities as well. Sort of just motivating, really. It's really good. You probably should check him out on YouTube. Just bang in Cameron Parker. It's really good. I quite like him. So yeah, I've got a meeting coming up with the guy who helped him right at the start. So I'm looking forward to that. I emailed him like sort of this morning, and he got back to me very quickly, which was really nice. But it did send my anxiety and mostly my imposter syndrome absolutely through the roof very quickly. For those of you who might not be familiar, I'm sure everyone's familiar with what anxiety is. Imposter syndrome is where you don't really feel like you fit in. You don't feel like you're good enough in comparison to other people. So an example of when you yourselves might feel imposter syndrome is you're in a lecture and it feels like everybody else is understanding this and you just have no idea what's going on. You feel like, am I really supposed to be here? So I had a little bit of that because it's still fairly new. I mean, I only started this a week ago, and now I've set this up, which is great. And I did send an email, so it is on me that this is happening. But I do feel a little nervous going into it, if I'm honest. So, but I'm looking forward to it, as I say, and hopefully it'll be one of these things where once you've done it a few times, it'll get a lot easier. So I'm hoping that is the case. I really am. I'll be honest with you. So on to the topic of today's show. As you can tell from the title, it is 3 sections, so short and unathletic, Spiderman, and then self-esteem. Those 3 things I appreciate don't sound very linked together at all. But if you trust me and we follow it through, I'm sure by the end of it you'll see what I've done with the whole thing. So look forward to it. I'm going to take another drink now, and I'll see you on the other side. I do love a Ribena. I would love to do this one day when I'm having a Thatcher's Gold whilst I'm speaking. I'm not sponsored by Thatcher's Gold, but if they are interested, do hit me up, Mr. Thatcher's man, because if I can get cheaper Thatchers and you can promote mental health, that sounds like a great trade. So Thatchers, if you're listening, get in touch, lad. Okay, so the first section, short and athletic. Some of you may know, and if you didn't know already, I play ultimate frisbee for the university. And we were out on a social. We have a few socials few socials a month, probably, generally on a Wednesday. I don't really know why on a Wednesday. I think that is just the social day for sport, but I didn't make that rule. So yeah, anyway, it was earlier on in the year, must have been about October time, I want to say. We were on a pub crawl, and we ended up talking about people on the frisbee team and their skills and attributes. And one lad who said the direct quote: "The thing is with Sam is he's short and unathletic," which hurt a little bit at the time. It was quite surprising because I didn't think he was gonna be quite as blunt about it. But having got to know him a lot over the past sort of 6 months, he's quite a blunt guy anyway. And we're really close now, and I've forgiven him about it, but I'll still use it for a jiv, and it's quite good for this episode. So sorry, mate. I know if you are listening, you know exactly who you are, and people who are listening who play ultimate frisbee also probably know who this guy is. So I'm sure he's loving it. But yeah, it hurt a little bit. I mean, I can still have a good time because that's what people do when you get a bit irritated by something, but you're in a social situation. You go, oh, you give it a little laugh, and you know it hurts a little bit, but you make the most of it and you keep going. So I just put it to the back of my mind, and for a few weeks it was definitely something that I was sort of hyper aware of. Maybe would be the terminology that I would use. Um, and I was trying to work out for a long while why, and I think mostly the short aspect at least is that's probably my biggest chink in my self-esteem armory. I'm not a particularly tall guy. I'm 5'6.5" if I don't have shoes on, but 5'7" in shoes. So I tell people I'm 5'7" because most of the time they don't see me without my shoes on. I think everyone has defense mechanisms for how they're gonna deal with situations like this. I certainly, and it's something that I'm trying to work on quite actively. Is that if I can get in first about something that I'm insecure about, i.e., not being particularly tall, being a little vertically challenged. Yes, if I can get in and I can make the first joke about it, that sort of stops everyone else from being able to, and it's quite a detrimental. It's not a very sustainable approach because it just reminds you of your own anxiety, and they probably weren't even going to mention it anyway. But I still feel at times I get a little bit defensive about things that, as I said, weren't going to be mentioned anyway. And that just highlights my own insecurities in my head, and it points out to other people, which isn't great because clearly you don't want people to know about these things that make us a little bit insecure, really. To go off the podcast. So yeah, that's kind of wraps up the first point. I mean, the unathletic part I'll just give him because I am quite unathletic, and I don't think anybody would really disagree with that too much. So unathletic, I think, is very true, and that with that point, it certainly does wrap up the first third of the podcast. If you're enjoying it so far, do drop a like on it. Leave a comment if anything I've just said or anything I'm about to say resonates with you a little bit. It's always nice to hear back from you guys, and it's great for engagement, so more people see the podcast. So and it's free and it's easy, so it helps me out, helps you out. It's gonna be brilliant. So moving on to the second half of this podcast, which I've entitled Spiderman. Some of you guys know I'm not a massive Marvel guy. It turns out it was Marvel though, so just a little fist bump for myself there because I thought it was, and I was right. It is lovely to be proved right. Nothing better than being proved right really in the world, is there? So Spider-Man. When I was dreaming up the concept of this podcast, good few months ago now, No Way Home was the film that everyone was talking about. I've heard only good things. I haven't actually seen it yet. So maybe I should get onto that because I've not actually seen it. But yeah, anyway, everyone's said it's brilliant. And Tom Holland is Spider-Man in it as he has been for the past few, I believe. I'm not sure. Uncharted has just come out as well, and I've heard that's very good. I've only heard good things about that. So as I'm trying to build up, I'm not just trying to give you a film review. Tom Holland is becoming quite a prominent actor, and he looks like he's going to have an incredibly stellar acting career. So I was See, I was thinking about his legacy and what people want to know about him. So I put into Google just Tom Holland, and the first thing that comes up is Tom Holland, and then the word height, and it turns out he's not the tallest of men, but he's not that short either. He's 5'8" by most accounts, but it does vary a little bit. Um, I'm like, he's becoming one of the biggest actors probably in the world, and people are still focusing over something that's a little bit out of his control. And I'm sure, having read a few things about him talking about his height and people's obsession with his height, it's something that he's not particularly pleased with either. Especially when you throw Zendaya into the mix as well, because she actually is a couple of inches taller than himself. And it's really really weird, to be honest. I don't see why everyone's got such an obsession with it, because he's 5'8", and for context, the average male height of someone in the UK is only 5'9", so it's not really very much in it. It's only an inch shorter than average. It means that a lot of, maybe you'd like to think about 40% of people are probably shorter than Tom Holland. I'm very much in that category, and it's, if somebody who's as talented and as skilled as he is, he's still being in interviews about being shorter than his partner and not being the tallest actor in the world. And it's like, surely people want to know more about, I don't know, the filming, or how he got into character, or stuff like this, rather than something that's quite meaningless. But it appears it's not, and I think that's going to negatively impact quite a lot of people's self-esteem, because, as I say, he's not really that much shorter than the average height of men in the UK. And it's like, no, it's a bit weird, is what I think, really. So let me move on to the third section, which is going to be entitled self-esteem. So I'm going to try and bring these two ideas together. And if people are this obsessed with height, then there's maybe something going a little bit wrong in the way that society is operating, because it's not something that anybody has control over, is it really? Some people are tall, some people are small, some people have brown hair, some people have big ears, some people have small ears. It's not in anybody's control, and to ridicule and say, oh, he's not as tall as other actors who play superheroes, or he's not as tall as other people on the frisbee team, is a little bit low, I think, really. And it's especially true online dating. I mean, I'm a single man. I do use a bit of Tinder and a bit of Hinge occasionally. And the classic is that, what do you call guys under 6 foot? Friends. And that's, again, is shallow and really quite, in my eyes, pathetic. And to summarise, I'm a big quote guy. So I'm gonna start off with a Matt Haig quote. So I'm gonna read this out a little bit. So if I suddenly sound a little bit different, I've started reading something to you. So the Matt Haig quote goes as follows: "The sky isn't more beautiful if you have perfect skin. Music doesn't sound better if you have a six pack. Dogs aren't better company if you're famous. Pizza tastes good regardless of status. The best of life exists beyond the things we are encouraged to crave." And I think that puts it, what I'm trying to say, very eloquently, and far more eloquently than I think I'm going to be able to talk about this. Yes, all of those things are important. If you do have a six pack, you do have perfect skin. That's brilliant. Congratulations, and maybe we should aspire to having six packs and having, all of these great things, and job security. But when all said and done, it's not. I don't think it's the most important thing, by a long way. And I know lots of people find solace and find the gym really to be quite a place where they can really focus on their well-being and feel better afterwards. And I think that's very true as well. If I do exercise and I go to the gym and I play frisbee, then I do feel better. But it's important to not forget the reason why you're doing it. You're not doing it. I mean, some people are. And it's a byproduct, I think, in my opinion, that your muscles get bigger. I think putting your mental health is far more important than going to the gym purely to look a little bit more like Channing Tatum or Chris Hemsworth, or indeed Tom Holland, because he's not a big dude by any stretch of imagination, but he's quite lean, isn't he? So So yeah, and as we've been talking about films, I'd chuck a slightly different quote, a J.R. Tolkien quote from Lord of the Rings, and it goes as follows, and it summarises it in a slightly different way, but equally in a similar way. So it goes as follows: If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. And again, that's similar to the Matt Haig quote. I'm never going to be somebody who has massive biceps and a six pack and looks amazing and drives a fast car. But I'm not saying I wouldn't like to be. I don't think anybody would disagree. I think that's something that people strive for, and that's cool as well. But I value the people I'm with and how I experience things. So on a Friday evening, I'm not going to be in the gym. I don't think I'm going to be having a pint of the bar. You know, being a little bit short, being a little unathletic, but I'll be up there having a whale of a time and laughing and experiencing things and sharing stories and sharing emotion. I think that's far more beneficial than grinding away and working on whatever and feeling like that's the way your life's gone. I know this has gone on a little tangent. I'm aware of that, but I think it's very important that this is mentioned as well. And I think that's sort of going to wrap up the content side of this episode. It's a little bit longer. It's not quite as long as I'd like it to be. I'm going to try and get better at judging how much I've got to say about a subject, and then see if I need to add some more things in. Next week, I might try and get a guest on. I don't know. One of my friends has suggested that the wellbeing service, if we get somebody from the university's wellbeing, that'd be an interesting person to have on and talk about mental health in students, which is essentially what I'm trying to talk about. But I don't know whether that's something that you guys would be particularly interested in. So I'm going to probably chuck a poll up over the weekend on Instagram to see if that's something that you guys want to hear from. And so yeah, be following the Instagram so you make sure you've got your say on if you think that's going to be a good idea or not. If it's not, then I'm going to do it. I've got two quotes that I'm going to look at in slightly more detail and see whether what I can deduce from that and see if we can support each other and understand a little bit more about what's impacting our mental health. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, follow the Instagram, share it on all of your socials. I've really enjoyed this episode. I think it's better than the first episode. I'll be absolutely honest. I think there's a bit more to it, and it's a bit less rushed. So I'll be again really interested to hear your feedback. So yeah, keep sharing it, keep liking it, keep our mental health as a priority, and I'll see you again on the next episode.